90% of US professionals are on StyleSeat today. So thinking really quickly about data, the most critical data for us is really around supply, because for us, supply drives demand. And so identifying the right supply to both understand and recruit more of, as well as to leverage, is really important for us. So there's 3 different vectors that we look at. The first is geography, right? Because density in top markets is important. We look at service type. So a barber provides different services than an esthetician, than a hair colorist, than a hairstylist. So making sure we have the right array of services in a city is incredibly important. And then also the business size. So there's some stylists that are really booked and they only have a little bit of availability to put on StyleSeat in terms of availability for new clients to book. There's some stylists that have more. And so in order to identify how we drive liquidity in market, we have to make sure that we have the right breakdown of these 3 different vectors. And I'd say price is another one that's really important here. So we use this data to basically identify, if we look at the top neighborhoods in a city, rather than, for example, so because we're a freemium platform, we want everyone to sign up for StyleSeat, and we started by saying everyone who wants to sign up can sign up. But then we started to identify and understand is that really the majority of bookings are happening with just a small segment of supply. And so by identifying that supply and more deeply helping them, we help to improve the quality of our directory. So what we've done, another challenge with the beauty industry is that it's incredibly long tail, right? So there's hairstylists and then nail artists that don't do nail art, but they do regular services. And we've got, estheticians that do waxing, but then some don't. It's very, very long tail. And so in order to really truly support customers rather than oversaturating ourselves and spreading ourselves too thin, we first started with hair. And we marketed all of our marketing content around hair, and all of our product was really built towards them. And then as we've figured out that we can more easily support wider segments, we've moved on from there. We also targeted our top 10 metros rather than focusing on every city across the US and and everyone who wants to sign up. We really started to focus our marketing on top markets and doing a little bit of local marketing in those top 10 metros. And what this told us, and some of the results of that, is that the majority, so approaching 90% of our bookings, come from our top 25% of businesses. And so by identifying those businesses and really supporting them, not focusing customer support on sort of the long tail, really focusing customer support and account management on that top 25%, we saw incredible lift in bookings. We also found that supply is our primary growth driver. So almost 70% of bookings come directly from supply. So as stylists are bringing on their existing consumer base, those consumers are starting to use StyleSeat, and then we're finding that we can pull them deeper through the funnel and to book more often. It's also important for us to find our aha moment, right? So it's the people talk about it's the second Facebook identified that they wanted you to get 10 friends in 10 days. Once you did that, you became a Facebooker for life, right? And you became deeply engaged. We needed to find our aha moment as well so that we could galvanize the team towards hitting that metric so that we could get an exponential shift in engagement. And our aha moment was driving 2 client-booked appointments within the first 30 days of sign-up for a stylist on StyleSeat. And this could be their existing clients, it could be new clients, but the fundamental shift of this is a tool for me to run my business on my own versus, oh, this is a tool for me and my clients love it, I'm getting new bookings or my existing clients are into this, was a fundamental shift for them. And once they made that shift, they uploaded more appointments, they added to their portfolio, they started really deeply engaging their clients on the platform. So we, in terms of finding that, it's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science. We had a couple of analysts looking for, over a couple of months to help us find that. We would test a couple of different factors. So we had hypotheses on what it could be. We made those hypotheses and then we tested and looked at cohort data to see what actually drove that growth. This is where we ended up. Another piece of data that's been really important to us is understanding what behaviors are of your customers, being able to segment them really well and treat them differently. So what we found is that an esthetician who, in case you don't know, Jason, they'll do things like eyelash extensions, they'll do waxing, they'll do facials, things
skin
like
stuff.
that.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Sure. Okay, good. Eyelashes is a really popular service. It's an expensive service, so it can be $150 or $200 every time you go. And
to put eyelashes on.
To put eyelash extensions on.
Wow.
Yes.
Do they tie them to your existing eyelashes?
They
How does that
glue
work?
them
They glue them
individually,
on.
one by one.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not even aware of this stuff.
Lots of women that you know probably get them done.
I was just always like, wow, my wife has the most beautiful eyelashes.
Well, I'm sure hers are
real.
Hers are God-given.
Yes.
Yes. But the frequency of that service is every 3 weeks. Eyebrows, for example, if you want to get your eyebrows threaded or waxed, is every 6 weeks. And so it didn't make sense for us to send notifications, reminders to customers not on that cadence. We first started with blanketing all services with a certain cadence of CRM. What we realized is this has to be segmented per service. And we did things like understand per client what that individual client's loyalty score is versus another client's loyalty score. So someone might go every 3 weeks religiously versus another person might go every 4.5. And so we started to train our CRM system to get smarter, because the more we could get clients to book with their existing stylist, the happier the stylists were, the more money they make. And then another really important way that we look at data is really looking at the cross-pollination opportunity for segments. So for example, one of the great benefits of StyleSeat is you can book not just with your one professional, but if you, let's say you start using the platform because your hairstylist uses it, we also want to let you know that you can find a hair colorist, you can find a nail artist, a makeup artist, an esthetician, et cetera, right? All the different services that we offer. And so by segmenting and building structured data around our professionals and which services they offer and don't, we can get really smart about not sending their clients to a competitor, right? We don't want to do that. But we do want to let their clients know, and we want to incentivize them and give them reason to book more appointments on StyleSeat and different types of appointments. So 91% of our clients are really loyal, and we just CRM them into that existing professional. But there is an opportunity if they drop off or if they're no longer a customer of that professional to CRM them into other ones. And so we take advantage of that. And we find that the average client books with their stylist 4.3 times per year. And we're starting to steadily grow that. But that means that that's an opportunity to lead gen them and to cross-pollinate them into other verticals to significantly grow that number of appointment per year on StyleSeat.
Amazing. So are you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, great. So amazing. Got me thinking about that aha moment. Was a real aha for me in your presentation. At what month in the history of the business did you start thinking about the business from a data perspective first, as opposed to, as most entrepreneurs do, kind of your gut and anecdotal evidence from your early customers?
Yeah.
When did that switch happen? Did it happen like you just said as a founder, you know what, enough with my instincts, we're just going to go data-driven now?
Yeah.
Or did it happen over time?
We tried to make it happen early on. We tried to make it happen in year 1 and year 2, and we found that there was just so much opportunity that the more we stopped and spent time analyzing data, the more opportunity we were missing. So we had to be very artistic about it in the beginning and say, okay, let's do data around who our key customer segments are, who our client segments are. Let's not oversaturate ourselves and spread ourselves too thin, but let's not be stupid about the big opportunities. But it wasn't really until year 3 and year 4 that we had the capacity to get the data, put it in a data warehouse, process it appropriately, and spend the time to make good conclusions, because making bad conclusions can be just as bad as not being able to draw conclusions at all.
Right. Yeah. It's not enough to just pull the data. You have to then test these theories and make sure that you actually do have the right aha moment.
Yeah, because you don't want to have the wrong one, because then you're putting a whole team behind driving an effort that isn't actually driving the value that you were looking for.
How do you confirm your hypotheses? So when you start to find out these aha moments, how do you then test them? What's the sort of next phase of testing?
Yeah, we would do cohort testing. So basically,
explain what that is to people who don't know cohort testing.
So what you do is you segment your users based on time or based on a particular action. And so what that means is, if, let's say, one hypothesis for an aha moment is 2 client booked appointments in a month. So you take a group of professionals that sign up over a certain period of time, let's say over 2 weeks, and you drive them towards a funnel that's focused on getting those 2 client booked appointments. Or let's just say you send them 2 client booked appointments, right? However you need to architect it. Then you have another hypothesis, and you segment a different segment of professionals around that, and you put them towards a different funnel, testing a different, let's say you wanted it to be that if they got, because you can get right reviews on StyleSeat, if they got 5 reviews within the first 30 days, that would actually more deepen their engagement. So you focus on that, you make that happen, you see how that drives engagement, and you make sure that you have a big enough set of professionals in both of those groups that's statistically significant. That allows you to take a set of users, give them a custom experience based on their cohort, and then see how over time that affects their engagement.
Because you could actually seed those users. You could buy traffic from Google or Facebook, or you could even send in people from your team or friends in the early days to book appointments and let them have that aha moment, right?
Yep.
You could manufacture the aha.
Yeah, and I heard Airbnb did this early on by saying, because they knew that the second a location or a host had one review from a visitor and professional photos, that actually made them many times more likely to be booked on Airbnb.
Right.
And so what they would do is they would send their employees, this is what I've heard, they would send their employees and a professional photographer, and then once they got that one appointment, then the directory, the demand started to drive itself.
Amazing. So, David, you must have been listening to this and like taking notes, because I think a lot of your business is you're searching for that aha moment, candidly. Is that correct?
I think that's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on Melody's talk?
So, Melody, this was great, by the way. I learned a lot. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was when you were talking about how you focused in the early days on certain verticals and also certain metros that were working well. And I was wondering how much you used kind of market data that you would go out and research to decide which metros were good versus launching things in a very trial way and seeing what worked, like your own data versus market research.
Well, what was interesting for us is that the core value prop of StyleSeat, especially in the beginning, was more of a SaaS value prop. It was, we'll make your business operate more efficiently, as opposed to we'll bring the value of a marketplace, we're going to drive you customers. And so what that meant is that people signed up in all these different cities, and word of mouth was driving that. So even if we had only 5 stylists in Kansas City, those 5 stylists were getting the business benefits of their business growing, so they didn't really care that there were only 5 stylists in the directory in the beginning. So we sort of let that turn on and let word of mouth grow, and then it's very clear which cities were taking off and which ones weren't. And so we just looked at where bookings were going the fastest and tried to identify the factors that were driving that and then replicate that in other markets.
I see. That's really cool. So you actually were able to say, we're happy to have these cities get going as long as they run themselves. We're not going to do any marketing around these other cities.
Exactly, but let's try and learn from what's working. And it was different things in different markets, which was interesting. And we would try and take factors and drop them into different markets and see how that would grow.
So eyelashes might be incredibly popular in one city but not another, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Is that regionally? I mean, is there a reason behind that?
There's a couple of reasons. One is the breakdown of ethnicity in a city. And so, for example, cities where there's more African American consumers, StyleSeat really thrives in, because we help you with discovery and we help you book appointments with stylists that are really hard to find. Let's say you have a hair texture and you need to get a particular service, and there's only a couple of stylists in your city that can do that. You book that appointment, you make sure that that appointment is always on your calendar, and that relationship is kept really tight with your stylist. Versus, and that's what's called a specialty service, a service where you will drive 2 hours to go find your stylist because they're amazing, you're gonna stay with them forever, versus more of a commodity service, which is like a blowout or nail manicure, where it's more about who's available when I need them. So it's really, there's a couple of factors. It's ethnicity, it's density in key markets. Are people willing to drive very far, or do they really want to just walk 3 blocks because they're in Manhattan? Price point, it's service type, a couple of things.
Awesome. Well, this has been wildly eye-opening for me. I'm actually thinking about like, wow, I wonder if the Inside.com, the business I'm sort of running myself, with people signing up for the emails, I wonder what the aha moment for them is when they get the emails that makes them want to share it with friends or be, sort of consumers for life. So this is
probably content tests you could do that'd be really fun there.
Yeah, there is actually. We could segment it, because I've always been thinking like, I wonder if the original content versus just aggregating and